Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming to another special show of Drag Queen Storytelling for Adults here at Cafe Deux Soleils. How are you all doing tonight? That was lackluster, do it again but better. There we go, yes, I believe you. Oh my gosh, cool. So are any of you guys aware of the fact that today is a very special anniversary for the LGBT community? Yeah? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, today is 50 years since the Stonewall riots in New York. And as Willem taught a lot of us, nobody died at Stonewall, which is a reference to someone thinking that people died at Stonewall. It was funny, so never mind. Flop. Anyways, so yeah, today is 50 years since the Stonewall riots, led by such, I don't know what the right word, such like pioneers of the queer community as Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, and you know, without the work that those trans women of color were doing, we couldn't be here at Cafe Deux Soleils on a Friday night in Vancouver, sitting here and listening to like this read you some literature, which I will get to, I promise. I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. Yay! And then before I get started with my reading, I just want to ask, is this anyone's first time at a drag show? Oh my gosh, yes, I see some hands! And hands, we love hands here. And not just for the blue humor. Great, well, that's good to know, because... Sorry, I had a really long day and now I just can't think. But anyways, so thank you so much for making this your first drag show. I just wanted to talk about a couple of the rules that we have at drag shows. I promise they're not like super intense and they're like mostly fun. So rule number one, when we're up here, when we're reading, because this is a show where we will be talking a lot, please don't be talking. Because there's nothing I hate more when I'm trying to like read a story for you guys and put on the best performance that I can to, you know, take a breath between sentences, and I hear from like the back corner or whatever, like, I can't believe it. If you have something that's like really urgent, like go for it. But if you're just talking about what you guys want to do after, just wait till the break, wait for the, like, between the performers a little bit, you know. It's just like, it's polite for you. Us on stage, it's polite for the people around you. Rule number two, if you like what we're doing, tell us. You can yell. Like that exercise that I did. Yeah, like yell. So if, you know, I'm reading a thing and I'm like, John did the thing really good, and you're like, fuck yeah, he did, you can go, yeah! Or when we're doing our numbers, you might get so riled up as to throw out a, go off, bitch. Go off, bitch! You know, that's like, ooh, that's what we're all aiming for. And rule number three, this one is completely optional, it's not really a rule so much as a suggestion, is the performers who are here tonight, we are mostly volunteering our time, and a lot of what we are wearing and putting on our face and everything costs a lot of money. So if you're really loving what you're seeing, it is a custom in drag culture to tip performers. Like I said, totally optional. I totally understand that not everyone has a whole bunch of money to tip. I certainly don't. But if you're loving it and you want to show that appreciation, we will love you forever. And so without further ado, I'm going to do some reading. And I'm going to close out of Grindr and go to Safari and turn on silence so Grindr doesn't beep. So when I was thinking about Legally Blonde, what could I read for that? I thought, porn that takes place in a law firm. So, yeah. What, like it's hard? That was Legally Blonde. So this is a cleverly titled story entitled Staring at Cocks, which I think is a double entendre based on the person's last name, but whatever. staring at cocks by standing stones, courtesy of literotica.com. I always thought of myself as a woman-only kind of guy. I'm not sure what happened, but for the past year, I have had the urge to be with a man. I was seeing a woman, but it was on and off sort of thing. I would see guys working out in the gym, and my eyes would be glued to the bulge in their shorts. I knew I had to do something, but I didn't know how to go about it. One of the guys in my firm was getting married. There was going to be a bachelor party, and all his coworkers were rounded up and urged to attend. I barely knew Tom, but I said, I guess I'll show up. And sure enough, when the party arrived, it was a big bore. There were some guys from work and some of Tom's friends and relatives. I was sitting there drinking a beer and listening to one testosterone story after another. A good-looking guy with light brown hair sat down next to me. It sure seems like a lot of BS to me, he said. I laughed. It was one guy after another trying to impress the rest with his skills in bed. I'm Carl, a cousin of Tom's, he told me. I'm Jeff. We shook hands. Ooh, hand-to-hand contact. Oh, wow. We talked for a few minutes, and Carl asked me if I wanted to go over to his apartment, which is not a law firm. He lived a few minutes away. I figured, what the hell? I was tired of this lame party. Carl and I said our goodbyes, and I followed him to his place. His apartment was nicely furnished. It was clean, and it didn't look like where a single guy should live. Carl offered me a beer, and we sat down on his couch. This is a lot like most of my interactions with men so far. Can I ask you something? He said to me. I nodded my head. Are you gay? I nearly choked on my beer. What makes you think I am? I asked him. Hey, you just look like you might be looking for a gay partner. I don't know what that means, but okay. You look like you might be looking for a gay partner. Sorry if I offended you. I'm not offended. I have to admit, I have had thoughts about men lately. This is funny because this actually happened to me this afternoon. And this guy straight up, this guy on Grindr was like, hey, I'm in town for like a week, and like, I thought I'd take this opportunity to like explore some of these thoughts I've been having, and so I was like, okay, tomorrow's my day off, come to my apartment. I can barely believe I was confessing this to this stranger, and I was thinking about having sex with other men. I misread that, but okay. It's okay. I was once like you. Women didn't work for me anymore, and I wondered, what would it be like to be with a man? Carl moved closer to me on the couch. I just sat there not knowing what to do. But Carl made all the moves. His hand went to my thigh and he started to rub me. And I just let him do it. I also let him move closer to me and kiss me on my mouth. It just felt natural. I opened my mouth and our tongues met. And before I knew it, Carl pulled me closer to his body. He began to unbutton my shirt. He pulled my shirt away, and he worked on the button of my trousers. Off came my pants, and Carl managed to get my underwear off as well. Carl stood up and he stripped for me. When he was finally undressed, I was looking at his long, thin cock. Which I don't think is the descriptor you want. So I'm going to modify it to make it less insulting to Carl, because I'm on his side. I was looking at his averagely proportioned cock. Carl pulled me to my feet. He He wrapped his arm around my waist and we kissed once more. Our cocks were brushing against each other. I have to admit, I was getting hard from all the friction. Carl did pull away finally, and he led me down the hall to his bedroom. Once there, Carl got on his back and urged me to join him. On their backs, side by side, I guess. Oh, no, never mind. Once I was on top of Carl, I could feel our cocks touching once more. It was as if we were having a sword fight. I never thought it would actually come to this. I was finally in bed with another man. With another man who wanted me. Aww. Oh, okay, we got some sensual dialogue, so... I need... Fuck, okay, hang on. Okay, this is very incorrect, so I'm gonna read this verbatim. I need fucked, Jeff. It's been a while for me, Carl told me. Just like that, Carl drew his legs back and exposed his hole to me. I didn't have a rubber with me. I didn't really want to enter a man with my bare cock. I didn't know what else to do. I took hold of my dick and I rubbed my mushroom against Carl's opening. You know, I have read some very well-written erotica in my time, and this is not that. Anyways, Carl let out a moan. I slowly pushed against his hole. Okay, so he's just going for it bareback. I love that. Okay, sure, whatever. I started to pump into Carl's bottom. I was surprised that I was easing into Carl's ass. It felt so smooth. It seemed like a few minutes had passed, and I had all 8 inches of my cock inside Carl. Once I was the whole way, I rested my dick, allowing Carl to get used to me. Carl was panting like crazy. Don't torture me, Jeff. Fuck me like crazy. There it was. I started feeding Carl every inch of my prick. I knew I was inside him the whole way. My balls were slapping against his ass. I never thought having man sex could feel so good. God, I love art. Carl's ass muscles were gripping me tight. Okay, okay, here we go. I gave Carl the deepest cock strokes I could produce. Carl was crying out as I drove my pole into his hole as far as I could. Okay, we're gonna keep... Oh god, okay. You know, I used to, pre-read these. Not pre-reading, so that we all have the same experience, except you're paying to watch me find it funny. Carl screamed as my hot milk hit his bowels. I must have had a big load stored up. It felt like I shot 5 or 6 good squirts inside him. Did you guys listen to Vinyl Cafe as a kid? Kept my dick inside Carl as we had a final kiss to end our fuck session. Thanks, that was so hot. Okay. I hope that this isn't a one-time thing between us, Carl said to me. I told him I would love to be with him again. I want more than a one-time fling. And then they have sex in the morning. The line, pumping my dick into Carl's green hole pops up. Okay, so I'm going to sum it up with this last little bit. Carl and I are now regular lovers. I am mostly a top, but I have experienced Carl's cock in my ass. One night, Carl said he wanted me to feel his cock. I got on all fours and Carl entered me. It did hurt, and Carl took me hard with his long dick. He did fill me with his hot seed at the end. I told him afterwards that I would be willing to take his cock again, just like that. I'm sorry I waited so long to try sex with another man. Oh, there's a moral. Okay. if you are thinking about men as well, don't wait as long as I did to have man sex. Now, thank you. That was a treat. Okay, so that didn't take place in a law firm at all. I lied to you, but whatever. That was great. Don't you guys love art? I love art, and I love art bubbles. So to continue on this art train, I'm going to do a little number that has just about the same amount to do with Legally Blonde as that story did. It's okay.
I was busy thinking about boys. Thinking about